What's up, everybody? Thank God. We finally have a UFC 300 announcement from Dana White. He announced it right after UFC 298 took place, and it is Alex Pereira taking on Jamahal Hill. Guys, I know that this is going to take a little bit of heat, right? Because Jamahal Hill's saying that this is something he kind of just found out about the other day, which is not particularly a good look for the UFC because it backs up, the question we all had. Is the UFC scrambling? Do they have a plan for UFC 300? And it kind of shows they really didn't have a plan all along, which is pretty unfortunate. But the bottom line is they got a great matchup done. I know that this isn't what we would call a spectacle matchup. I know that we were looking at, when we talk about a UFC 300 main event, that's something where we should see one of the OGs, like a Conor McGregor, a John Jones, a massive fight kind of like that. There's no doubt about it from an X's and O's perspective. This is a sensational matchup between Pereira and Jamahal Hill. And we're going to hop right into this and talk a little bit about this matchup. I'm going to give you an early preview here and prediction and how I see this thing playing out, which is Jamahal Hill obviously has the injury, so there's some question marks coming in. How healthy is he? Is he kind of rushing back too soon? Because I know a timeline for Jamahal Hill, it seemed like it was pushing it. That was kind of maybe the drawback of him fighting Pereira at UFC 300 in the first place. They were talking about maybe UFC 301 in Brazil, which is actually where I thought this main event made the most sense. Get Alex in front of the Brazil fan base, which would have been crazy. No doubt about it. Pereira, in my opinion, man, is a guy that has came into the sport, done things that we have never seen. He's a double champion. We've just never seen anything quite like him, man. And he was a double champion in Glory Kickboxing. He's got the persona of this, Michael Myers, just serial killer type of vibe to him, right? He's scary, the whole bow and arrow, he's got this terrifying figure to him. But if there's a guy in this division who's going to present some unique challenges to him, it's going to be Jamahal Hill. Because while people are going to say, well, Jamahal Hill, he's known for his striking, he has good power, but Alex Pereira is this world-class kickboxer and striker, that's absolutely correct. But one thing that people tend to miss is whenever you have a guy that is so good at striking and he's used to fighting the best strikers in the world, normally those strikers that you're facing have perfect technique. Everything comes from where it's supposed to when you face Jamahal Hill, that is not going to be the case. Jamahal Hill is more of an MMA-based striker. He throws a lot of looping punches. He does have tremendous power in that left hand. We saw what he was able to do to Johnny Walker. We've seen what he's been able to do in his career. He was the light heavyweight champion and vacated the belt due to injury. So good on Jamahal Hill for doing that after Yuri Prochazka got hurt. The 205 has been a disaster up until I even called this, before Alex ended up moving to 205. When he goes there, he would make the division fun and great again by winning the belt and all this and that. So here we are in a grudge match against Jamahal Hill. There's no doubt about it. This is a tremendous matchup. And Jamahal Hill's last time out, he was in Brazil against Glover Teixeira, UFC 283, I believe. He goes out there in a 5-round fight against Glover Teixeira, does get the job done. So when I look at that, I'm like, we get Pereira in there after the fight because he was in Teixeira's corner, kind of giving him the stare down. So it's and then Hill kind of gives him the look. So it's this has been a fight that's been brewing. It's kind of got that animosity to it, which is what I mentioned is a piece of criteria for headlining UFC 300. As great of a matchup, X's and O's wise, as Bilal Muhammad and Leon Edwards is, that doesn't fit the mold for UFC 300. And I know people are like, well, we don't care about the antics. We don't care about but the UFC does. And that's what they're looking to tap into with UFC 300. They want to cater to everybody, the hardcores, the casuals, people that might not necessarily be interested in MMA at the moment. They're going to see a big, scary Brazilian, and they're going to play all the highlights of him knocking everybody out. And then the stare down of him and Jamahal Hill looking at each other after Glover lost, and him, Pereira, looking to avenge Glover. That's how they're going to spin this. It has the storyline. It's going to have the animosity, the no-glove touch. It's going to have all of that, which is exactly what the UFC needed for 300. I'm very happy with this main event. I know a lot of people are going to be, this sucks, and this is what you get. This is a great fight. This is a great fight, and it has the animosity, which is what everyone, if you didn't want Leon versus Bilal, this is what you were looking for, was something like this. I really do see Alex Pereira knocking out Jamahal Hill. Now, I will say this. I do believe it's going to be by a left hook. And if we take a look at an LFA before Pereira got to the UFC, he goes up against a southpaw, which I will mention. Alex Pereira does tend to have a little bit of issues when he goes up against somebody that is a southpaw, because when he goes up against these orthodox fighters, he's gotten really, I wouldn't say one-dimensional. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to go that route, but that's a little bit of my concern coming into this for Pereira is he's gotten very comfortable at, playing the long game, playing that long guard, not rotating his shoulders and firing off that calf kick, which works really well against orthodox fighters. But we saw against Yuri Prochazka, we saw against Israel Adesanya, when guys go southpaw, he tends to not have the same answers that he has against an orthodox fighter. Now, we could argue and say, well, that's because, Yuri Prochazka is an orthodox fighter and he didn't predict him to go southpaw, but we know Izzy switches stances. So we knew that Pereira was expecting that coming in. And if you look at the second fight in MMA, UFC 287, between Adesanya and Pereira, when Adesanya went southpaw, Pereira just kind of circles and he was just kind of waiting for Adesanya to go back to that orthodox stance. So that's why I'm kind of concerned, because in that southpaw stance, Pereira can kind of switch his hips and throw that lead leg. And yes, he's still very good at that, but it does not have the same amount of power as when he throws that rear leg with that non-telegraph calf kick that he likes to throw, that we've seen him use on just about everybody. That is not necessarily going to be a factor in the fight against Jamahal Hill, which is going to make it very interesting, because that has been Alex's game plan coming into these fights, has just been to play the long guard, try to stay safe in that range defensively, throw a jab to the body, set it up, and eventually throw the left hook if they come crashing forward and start to overreact to the jab, and then beat up the lead leg with the calf kick, and then eventually they try to close Alex down, and then he's able to catch him either with the left hook like he did Izzy, or he's able to do what he did against Yuri Prochazka, where you get aggressive, try and catch him, you try and close him down and catch him with something, and then he's just able, you're compromised, your legs hurt, you can't move as well, and that's been his game plan. So I'm going to be really curious to see how Alex approaches this matchup against Jamahal Hill, because Hill has really good power, and his striking is unorthodox for a guy like Alex. Alex is used to seeing very straight punches from a guy like Adesanya. Like, those are the types of guys that Pereira has fought most of his career, are very good technical strikers. Where Jamahal Hill, things are looping, they're coming around the guard, where Alex likes to play that long guard and reach like this, and he doesn't move his head a lot. So if Jamahal Hill is able to kind of pull down that guard and throw some shots around, is he able to catch Poatan Pereira? And Jamahal Hill's been on the record saying, I'm not taking this guy down. I'm going to go in there and knock him out on the feet. And people are like, Jamahal Hill stands no chance on the feet. I am one of the biggest Alex Pereira fans, man. And I will tell you this straight up. Jamahal Hill absolutely has a legit chance at knocking out Alex Pereira, because of his striking being a little bit more unconventional to what Alex Pereira is used to seeing. Now, I will still say that I do believe Alex Pereira wins the fight. I think that the left hook is ultimately going to be his best friend in this fight, because when you are a southpaw going up against an orthodox fighter, there's two weapons that become available, especially in kickboxing, MMA, and that is the body kick or head kick, because you're in that opposite stance, and then straight right hands down the middle, or straight left hand at your southpaw, and then the hooks. Check hook, whatever, a hook right over the top, because it's over that front shoulder and it's a little bit harder to see, and Alex Pereira hides that left hook really well. He keeps his arms, he keeps his elbows in, and he doesn't really telegraph the way he throws that hook. Sometimes he loads up on it, like we saw against Jan Blachowicz, where you're able to duck underneath and take him down. I do think we'll see Hill mix in some takedowns. I think that he'll try to close the gap and wear on Alex up against the fence a little bit. But this is really going to come down to, how does Alex Pereira manage Jamahal Hill? Because I think that Jamahal Hill is going to be aggressive. I think that he's going to come in with confidence, because this man has been confident the whole time. And there's something about Jamahal Hill. This guy's been going off on X. He seems like he's on edge. He seems irritated all the time. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know what's going on, off the field, I should say. No doubt about it. This is a great matchup. I still think Alex Pereira is able to get the job done. I think I think we see a knockout of some kind, and I am going to go lean towards Alex Pereira to do that, and I think that it will be very similar to what he did to that guy in LFA prior to the UFC, throwing that head kick, getting that hand to come up, getting you worried about it, kind of feinting that back hip, and then throwing that left hook right around that front shoulder of Jamahal Hill and clipping him with it. But I want to hear what you all think down in the comments about this UFC 300 main event announcement, because guys, I think this is an outstanding fight, and I think that it's a great matchup. But comment your early predictions below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. See you next time.